Hi everyone, welcome back to the Oat Milk Lesbians, and today we have a special episode with you guys. As you can see, we have two guests with us, Adam and Anjuli, and this episode is going to be lesbians talking to Christians.
It's gonna be an interesting one.
Yes, oh my god, yeah. So do you all want to introduce yourselves?
My name is Anjuli. I'm 25 years old. That's all. I'm a Christian.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I'm Adam. I'm also 25, also a Christian.
Hello. Hi everyone.
Hi.
Okay, so just to preempt y'all, the reason why we're fucking recording this episode is because we just want to have conversations with people who have different value systems and different beliefs than we do. Because every single like guest episode that we have, it's always like with people who kind of like align with how we view things lah. So, you know, the thing is that like it's always really easy to just talk to people who are like super like-minded. But like what's not easy is to have a civil conversation with people you don't agree with.
Yes.
So yeah.
So honestly, this episode was very informative and also very enlightening for us. And we hope that you guys will feel that way too. Because it's not every day that you can have intersectional conversations like that.
Yes. So try not to cancel anyone in this episode. Just shut up and watch with an open mind. That's it. Just shut up and watch with an open mind. Full stop. Okay, that's it.
Yep.
Okay, continue watching the episode. Bye-bye.
Okay, just for some context, Adam and I used to work together. That's how we got to know each other.
Oh.
And Anjali and Zoe knew each other from school.
We went to school together. We went to a Christian school together. Yeah, and now Anjuli works at that school as an accountant.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like we got some pretty good candidates today lah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Thank you so much for
Cancellation?
No, nobody's cancelling you guys. Okay, so let's start off with the first thing. What denomination are you guys a part of?
Well, I'm sort of in that searching period. I was raised Roman Catholic. So one of my parents is a Roman Catholic. My other is the typical, I'm Buddhist, Taoist, sort of like the Chinese people. They don't really know what they believe, yeah. So my other parent was, so I was raised Roman Catholic until went for all the Sunday school last sacraments. I was terrible. At Sunday school, I had like the worst attendance and everything. Then, like literally, I still remember from 5, I think I went for one of the class and then they were announcing for some reason the attendance that you got. And then the person said I had 13 out of 32. 13 out of 32. No, because I hated it lah. I felt like it was just waste of time. I had no friends there.
Sounds like normal school.
Yeah, like I just hated it lah. I just didn't like it. So anyway, I did like it. Then, when I went to college, then it's when I discovered like other type of Christians, which is the Protestant world lah, So like I went to Melbourne to study lah that time, and then I went to this church called like Planet Shakers. Have you guys?
Yes,
of course,
their music slaps.
Planet Shakers.
Yeah. But if you're a Roman Catholic and you've never heard in your life worship music or any type of other Christians, then you know that, oh my God.
Yeah.
I just went in there and then suddenly I see all young people
Clubbing.
Yeah, so I didn't know what was going on lah, but that was my like first the first moment I had to like really question myself. Do I even know what I believe? Is what I believe true? Do I have any reasons or logical reasons for like keeping myself in this faith? So that's when I started trying to research, understand my faith, and I'm still on that journey right now. So if you were to ask me what deno I am, I'm currently in this church called Every Nation, which is, I would say, a Pentecostal charismatic church that is in, they have quite a number of branches in Malaysia lah. So
Well, I feel like his story is so interesting, right? So many different ones. I've grown up in church my whole life. I'm under the Assemblies of God denomination under Calvary Church. And I've grown up in church my whole life. My dad is actually a pastor.
Oh. Yeah. I remember that.
You're a PK, okay.
Yes, I am a PK. PK is pastor's kid.
Oh.
Yeah, and then my mom's brother is also a pastor. His wife is also a pastor, and they're currently pastors in Calvary Church. My dad's side,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, plot twist.
Oh, okay. My dad's side, my aunt, his sister is also a pastor. And she has been a missionary actually. She went to China to work for a while. Yeah, so I'm basically grown up in a bubble of pastors. Yeah,
A bubble of pastors, yeah.
yeah. So
Very,
yeah, lah.
very
So
Christian.
Good
yeah,
question. Do you guys want to be pastors?
Oh, what the fuck?
you know, when I was
about it.
young, a lot of people have said like, oh, you know, you should like follow in like, you know, your father and your uncle's footsteps and stuff. I'm like, okay. I'm like, no, I don't want.
You don't feel like it's for you, lah.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Why not?
because they also say like, you know, like if you were to be a pastor, you need to have like a calling from God and stuff.
That's true.
I don't think I have that. At least, yeah, I don't think so.
Mm.
Yeah. So no lah, I feel like not me. Definitely not me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you're a cell group leader, but do you have a desire to be a pastor?
No lah, for me is I know it sounds very cheesy, right? Oh, I serve where God calls me to be, but in a way I try to live out that way lah, of course. So I'm just, obviously I want money, right? I need money to survive, put food on the table, make sure that my family got a place to live and that I have a good life and all that. But I mean, for now I don't really have any passion or really want to be a pastor. No, I don't
Got
have
tithes
that
and
lah.
offerings, ma.
Then I just open one channel just for me to. I mean, no, like, I don't have any passion for that at the moment. But of course, if like y'all were Christians, right? If ever I'm driving down the road in LDP and then suddenly a son comes, Adam, why are you persecuting me? I'm joking lah, but you know, if ever something like that happens, then you know, God's will.
You know, right? Sorry, out of topic. Last time, right, when I was in church, I was with this group of friends, and then we all did this quiz that is like, "What's your calling?" Then I
What
did
the
the
fuck?
quiz, and my calling was like an evangelist, and like some of them, their calling was like pastor.
Is
So
it
there
like
was,
the one you're like teacher, pastor, like different gifts one, is it? Or
I think so. I don't remember. It was a long time ago already, but I remember like we did that quiz to like find out our calling.
interesting.
Then
What
was
quiz
like-
is it? It's like a paper quiz or online quiz?
Online quiz only.
Ah, what the fuck?
It's like them random one. Yeah. Then I was like, okay, but I kind of see it. I feel like if I'm Christian, I would probably be an evangelist.
Why do you think so?
Why do I think so?
Like-
Because I think I'm quite persuasive.
I see.
Okay, all right. Okay, so now we're gonna get a bit more backgroundy with the topic. So tell us, like, what is your childhood with your religion versus now? Like, how do you grow up with the religion that you grew up with, and like, what would you describe your relationship with the religion? Like, not just with God, but like the religion, the community, your parents, your friends, like all of it.
Okay, so when I was young, obviously I grew up in church. A lot of people, like newer people in church, would like ask me, "Oh, I haven't seen you around before. How long have you been in church? Are you like a new believer?" And then they're like, "Oh, I've been in church for like 10 years or whatever." And then they're like, "Oh, so how long have you been in church?" And I'll be like, "I'm 25, so I've been in church for like more than 20 years already." Then they're like, "Huh? More than 20 years?" Then I'm like, "Yeah, because I've been in church since I was young." And then they're like, "Oh, okay." So I feel like because I grew up in church, all my friends were Christians, all my friends were, you know, in this little community. And I did go to government school when I was young, Chinese school, but, you know, in a way, it doesn't really, you know, when you're that young, you don't really get influenced that way by your friends. It's like, oh, you are this religion, I'm this religion, but you don't really like share, not like now when you're grown up, you know, you have different opinions and different views. So last time it was like, oh, everybody, majority of my friends go to church. Okay, I go to church. My parents go to church, I go to church. My Sunday school teachers teach me this, then okay, I learn about this, you know? And in a way, I'm still grateful that I have this kind of like teachings in my life, you know, like, you know, from when I was younger. But in a way, now I think back about it, it's also not really that good because it kind of like makes my mind very narrow and I only see things this way and I don't see like all the other things that are in the world. You know, I'm not aware that there's, yeah, like all these other things in the world is like so sheltered, you know, in a way, like very narrow-minded. And then when like other people come and tell you certain things, then you're just like, oh, like, no, that's not for me or whatever. In fact, when like Zoe first came out to me, it kind of like opened my mind to like, oh, there's other people like that who feel this way, you know, people who are like you think that girls are supposed to be attracted to guys, or guys are supposed to be attracted to girls, but there are people who think otherwise, you know, people who think a different way. And it really like opened my mind to, wow, you know, I've really been in a bubble, I've been living under a rock, and I don't know all these other things. So I feel like being a Christian from, you know, my whole life, I'm not trying to like say in a bad way, but I think it has kind of like hindered me from like really seeing what's out there lah. You know, to me lah, now that I think about it, and yeah, I think that it's really like hindered me from like seeing all the other things in the world. Yeah.
Is this like a gradual realization, or was it like when Zoe came out to you, then you were like, oh?
I mean, I think that was like a start, but it was like, yeah lor, like, you know, the things that I really believe in are just like things that are like being fed to me, you know. It's not things that I've learned by myself. Not that the things are bad or wrong, but yeah lor, it's just like you just learn about this law, you know, they don't tell you about all the other things.
So is your current circle of friends like, are they still majority Christian, or do you have like?
I would say, yeah, I guess so. Majority of them are still Christians. But I think now that we're older and we like, you know, through internet and all that kind of stuff, we know more about what's going on. We do have conversations like that about like, as Christians, how do we, you know, see people, you know, who are LGBT, or how do we treat people, how do we talk to these kinds of people, or if we have friends who are like that, then, you know, what do we do, what's our response and things like that. But I think as like a community, like a church community, they don't like to talk about all these kinds of things, you know. They just like to talk about the so-called like the happier side of things, or the more positive side of things. They don't like to bring in all these things where they get questioned, or you know, people bring a more negative light to these kinds of topics. They don't like to talk about all that kind of stuff, you know. They just like to talk about love and light and, you know, all that kind of stuff, salvation, whatever. Yeah, you know. So when I was young, I guess my relationship with the church or with being a Christian is just following what I'm being told to do. Yeah, all these kind of things like, oh, they tell you to serve in church, then you serve. That's it, you know. And now it's kind of like I want to take a step back to be like, what's the actual problem? Because while people are always like, oh, you know, Christianity is like, you know, if you believe in Jesus, then like you go to heaven and all that kind of stuff. It's like they only care about their own community, and they don't really care about, you know, all the people that are on the outside. Like, your goal should be to focus on reaching outside people, not just caring about your own community. But to me right now, it really feels like we need to take care of our own, that kind of vibe. And I don't really like that. I don't know. Maybe other churches are not like that. I'm not particularly saying the church that I'm attending is like that, but it kind of feels that way, you know, because, yeah, in a way, it's like very cliquish. That's what I like to describe them as. They're very cliquish. And it's like they include other people just to be like, oh, like promote, like come to church or come and join our event or whatever. And they're so like happy and like, you know, welcoming. But after you join them, then it's like, okay, you're on your own. Like, just come out, then whatever. You know, so to me, it's like there's no follow-up. There's no like really including these people inside. And then when there's someone who's like, you know, acts a bit flamboyant or whatever, then they're just like, oh, okay lor. They don't really do anything about it, or they don't like approach the person or like really talk to the person, and the person is just like that. They just leave that person alone. So I don't know. To me, that's not what it's supposed to be about lah. I don't know. I still attend church now. It's not like I don't want to be a Christian anymore, but, and I also think religion is a very personal thing. Like, you know, it's not something that somebody tells you to do. It's something that you want to do. So because of that, it's like my relationship with God. So all these people actually don't really matter like what they're doing or not. But it's just really sad because, you know, Christianity is all about like, you know, to share like the love and like goodness with everyone else, but they're not doing that. You know, they're just taking care of their own. Yeah, to me, it's like, it's okay. Like, it's just really sad that that's how it is. But to me, it's just my relationship with God lah, I guess.
Okay, and just to clarify, both of you are like born into Christian families, not born again Christians, right?
Yes, I am.
Well, for me, because I was raised Roman Catholic, then yes, but my other parent isn't.
Okay.
So I was like, I mean, basically for me, it's because my story is very different. For her, it's like a lot of your family members were part of the church, volunteer in church. Mine was completely opposite. I didn't volunteer at all. Try my whole 18 years going Sunday school, I didn't volunteer at all. I wasn't what do you call it, altar boy or anything like that. I wasn't. So my mom is the one that's Christian, and she's the one that raised me that way. But I was you could say a cradle Christian. Is that a proper term?
What's
so
a
meaning,
cradle Christian?
like Christian by name.
Oh.
Do I genuinely believe? You could say I guess, but do I even know what I believe? Like in the sense of able to articulate, I don't think so. But because when you, like you say, like when you're that young, do you even know like how can you even talk to the other people about things like religion? Because it's such a deep topic, right? So when I was young, like I didn't really care, didn't really believe or what. I just did it because I was supposed to do, like, you know.
Yeah, correct.
And that was how it was like. For me, it was just, I felt it was just a chore. And the only reason I would go to church or like go for Sunday school is to, like, in other words, shut my mom up lah. Because like there were days that she would like argue with me, try to pull me and drag me out to like Sunday school, and I understand why, because of course she's trying to do her best as a parent to raise me up in the faith lah. But because my dad isn't, I kind of like pointed him, why you need to go? Daddy don't need to go what? You know, like I kind of use him as the blame lah. You know, I was like, he don't need to go, then why you need to go? So there were times where, for me lah in particular, I was very active in the sense of going church every Sunday, and then there were times where like 2 months I only go once, that kind of thing. Yeah, but I was like really just like, if people ask me, are you religious? I'll just be like, oh, I'm a Christian lah. But then if you ask me, what do I believe? Oh, got some guy called Jesus lah.
Some guy called Jesus.
Yeah. You know, like that's how it was like lah. You know, yeah. So I think that was back then when I was younger.
Yeah.
Then for me, I don't really like the term born again. I don't know. It feels like a weird term, but for me, after I went to Australia and then like started mixing with people of different religious faith or types of Christians, right? That's when I guess things started to change for me. I don't have any like cheesy story like, oh my God, I was praying that day and then hallelujah, like you know, everything came down and I saw God, that kind of thing. No lah, I don't really have that kind of story lah. But for me, it was more of like, I started to really question the more foundational questions in life lah, the more existential questions. You know, the people that our age always ask like, why are we here? What's our meaning and purpose? Where do we end up when we die? Do we have any foundation for our faith? Is it reasonable and logical? Is it just emotions that is our faith? How about other religious people? All these kind of questions started popping up. So that's when I guess I started embarking on that journey to read a lot more about my faith, to actually for the first time take up that, wipe off the dust from the Bible, finally flip it open for the first time out of my own volition to read lah. So I started there, and around 2019-ish, around there. Yeah, so I remember I was talking to my friend, and then he was just saying like, oh, if you want to read, just start like with the New Testament first. He said like, it's easier you start there than you start from Old Testament lah. Then I was just like, nah, I want to be historical. I want to be like, you know, start from Old Testament, read all the way, the kind of front to back lah. Then like, you know how it gets in Numbers and Leviticus. How many sheep lah, how many goat lah, you know, the centimeter of the pillars lah, all that kind of thing lah, you know. So I started reading Genesis. At first, Genesis quite cool, all the stories, all the creation stories, then the Joseph, Adam, Eve, all that kind of stuff, right? Then as soon as I went there, I was like, I can't do this. Yeah, so that's when I actually like, okay, you know what? Let me try to read the New Testament. So that's when things like for me changed lah. I feel when I personally read it, I don't think the stories and the words of Jesus were things that I initially thought. Because I was like, I always went to church, I always hear these things, I see the gigantic cross in the church. I always thought like it was some cool like holy guy floating in the sky.
Yeah.
But then when I personally read the New Testament and I saw the way Jesus spoke and the things that he said were just so straightforward, and like he was just very cutthroat in the way that he saw things lah. The way he spoke against the hypocrites, the way he spoke against the religious people at the time, which are the Pharisees and all that, right? The way he like, you know, taught them, like for example, the story of the prostitutes, people wanting to stone her because she's sinful, and then Jesus like, who among you who has not seen you throw the first stone? So things like that I read, I was like, damn, like damn, that's not the Jesus I thought I knew. Yeah, so for me, that's when I started really diving in into the historicity of Jesus. Is it really true that his claim that he rose from the dead, is it a true thing, or is it just some myth that people believe? Or are there any factual groundings for that thing? So that's when I started really trying to go deeper. And so if you ask me now, my faith, I would say it's more based on the fact that Jesus rose from the dead. Right? Because it is a falsifiable claim, meaning that it can be disproven.
Yeah.
But for me, because I feel like my faith should be based on emotions, because like one day we feel happy, next day we feel sad. Then what? One day I believe in God, next day I don't believe in God. To me, like, I think that's ridiculous because there are days when I'm like, great, I feel God bless me a lot, and there are days where I ask for God for simple things, good things, and then things don't happen. Right? Am I supposed to not believe in God when that happens? So for me, if you ask me now, I try to base my faith more on the facts and reasons for the rationality of the faith I call Christianity. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool. Like, I think Jesus is a good guy.
He's cool. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, because like me personally, like even though I don't believe anymore, I still think Jesus is a good guy. Like, I feel like he is a good example, and also like a lot of the things that he did were really good. It's just that generally in Christianity, as much as they made Jesus the center, they don't really do that. They also take in a lot of all these like problematic stories and like call them teachings. But actually in reality, it's like these things, from how I interpret them, it's just stories. It's just like you're supposed to have your own moral judgment at the end of the day about what they mean to you. But a lot of them take it as like black and white. Like, this means like, let's say wife submit to husband is like black and white. Then they like use that against you because it's part of the holy book. But actually like the only thing that I feel like is good in the whole thing is Jesus and like the deeds. So yeah.
I mean, that's the honest sad thing, right? Like, I think in your earlier podcast, you guys mentioned that it's not really Christ and what he did on the cross. It is Christians and what they did to you.
Yeah,
correct.
Which,
we are persecuted.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm straight. I will never be able to feel and experience what you guys went through. But watching your videos, like, it hurts to see that was what happened to you guys. And that's the honest truth. Like, Christian communities and Christian people in general are like that. But it's not like, I am pointing at them and I am not the same way. I feel like there are times where I'm like that also, right? But that's the truth. A lot of people at the end of the day, and I have other friends as well, not part of the LGBTQ community, but they are also people that walked away from Christianity, not because of Christ, but because of Christians.
Yes, correct.
Which is sad.
Correct. I think one thing about like Christianity is that a lot of times it's the community. I've personally, back when I was still a Christian, I would always feel like, okay, the community really matters. It's like, I don't know, maybe because I was like really young. So it's like, you know how like when you're friends in a specific place, you want to go ma. So the community there for me was like quite an important aspect. But the minute I felt like I was, being judged and all of that, the minute I didn't feel safe in that community, I no longer wanted to be part of it. Yeah, so I think it's mainly Christians. It's not, I don't think the religion itself is bad. I just think like the people in the religion, they just use the word of God to their own convenience.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way too, because for me it was like, because like, okay, oh my god, funny story, the first book I actually finished was Revelations. Imagine how traumatizing that was, reading that as a kid.
One book to not read first. That's the book.
That was the first thing I read, because like it was really funny because I heard like my uncle talking to my dad in the hall one day, and then he was talking about, I read the book of Revelations and then it opened my mind, blah blah blah. Then I'm like, huh? And I was 12, at the time.
Oh my god.
I was fucking 12 years old. Then I went up there, I was like, what is the book of Revelations? Then I read it, I was like crying the whole night. It was like so traumatizing. And I was like, but I kept telling myself, okay, this is not it. This is just talking about the end of the world. And I think that initial fear kind of like scared me into the religion, I would say. Like it kind of conditioned, even though technically nobody was imposing that on me, I just overheard my uncle talking about it. Then I sendiri go and like read it. Then I think since then I was like, I latched on to the religion partly because of the fear. It didn't start out with like reading parts that were about love or like about community. It was like fucking end of the world. So I was like, shit, I gotta believe in Jesus Christ, dude. So like that was how it started for me. But then, okay, so I've read the whole Bible and I've also taken like religion
The
classes to.
whole Bible
Yeah, I finished the whole Bible.
from start to finish.
Yes, Genesis all the way until yeah.
I gotta be honest, even I haven't read the whole Bible. I had like this cheat book where it's like a summarized version of the Bible.
Really?
And I had to do like a Bible reading course thing once, and I'm like, I can't finish this. My dad was like, oh, you read this are quite easy to understand. I'm like, it's literally like a summary of like each book. So I'm like, okay, just read that. They will read the whole thing.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read the whole thing because I think I wanted to understand it myself, like word by word. I don't remember which version I read, but it was one in the middle. It's not the King James one. It's
NIV?
Yeah, I think it's
NLT.
and yeah.
NIV and NLT is probably the most
Yeah,
popular
most
one.
common. Yeah.
I think that's the one that I read. Yeah, but I finished the whole thing, and I at the time I still believed in it. It was more like when I went to college, and then I started like comparing different texts like KJV and like NRV and all this. Then only I was like, there's something fucked up about how it's getting translated over the years, because then the message just gets lost in translation, and I feel like that is what makes all these communities, you know, like because the translation becomes very messy in the process, which I also kind of get, because like KJV is not the easiest thing to read. So I get like people trying to simplify it, but sometimes, right, when you simplify it, you also have your own interpretations of what it's trying to say.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of that, like these different translations, they get adopted by different churches, and then they create their own narrative around it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it serves like a very a very like bad narrative, because like I think people in general, like people who are very believing in the patriarchy, they like to use it to their advantage lah. So yeah.
I heard a quote once, something like, "There's nothing more dangerous than a man alone in the room with his Bible."
Oh my god.
What the fuck does
no,
that mean?
because let me explain that. It's because when you're alone reading your Bible, like you can interpret it however you want. I can pluck out whatever verses I want to support whatever viewpoints I want to push for. So that's why actually in like biblical studies, there's one subject, if I'm not mistaken, it's called hermeneutics, where they study how is it that you're supposed to study and interpret different verse. But even within that subject also, that's why there's different denominations, because all the denominations argue, they will debate
own.
about different verses. What does it mean? What does this mean? Which well, I like to listen to the debates but at the same time, I feel like the debates are good, right? We should practice the ability to converse and have differing viewpoints. But the important thing is to agree to disagree If ever we reach the point where I want to punch you for disagreeing with me, then like, bruh, you've crossed the line. And unfortunately, that happened as early as 1054. The first major split in Christianity happened between the Roman Catholics and the Orthodox Church, right? And the reason for that is because of a couple of reasons. One is political, because the Roman Catholic was by the Western Roman Empire, and then the Eastern one was by the Byzantine Empire. And they both were speaking different languages. One was Latin, one was in Greek. And so the translation of the Bible in and of itself was different. Last time, now we got Google Translate. You imagine back then, I'm writing a long essay about my belief in God or whatever, and then I give it for some dude 1,000 miles away who speaks Greek. You can already imagine what happens then. So correct. What happened since then is still happening now. People are arguing, people are debating. I would say it's better now. Back then, Christians killed each other for different viewpoints. Now, I hope not.
Yeah, nobody should be killing each other. That's the bare minimum, bro.
What I don't think Christians are doing that anymore But that's not to set aside how we should do it. We still can do things better
Yeah, actually I totally get this thing, because like when I was studying in religion classes, right, like my professor, because he studied Hebrew as well, so like he would show us like how it was originally written in Hebrew and how there were like some missing parts and everything, or like some missing strokes or characters that make people interpret the language differently. Also because Hebrew wasn't like really studied by a lot of people, and it was like a dying language. That's why like the translation just becomes like whoever's translations.
Correct.
Which is why I'm also like you know, when you see all these things, right, and then afterwards you think about the people who have access to all these documents and people who have access to language and power in general. Like it's undeniable that like they will adopt it to how they are brought up or what they believe in, you know.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
I think because now actually I'm doing this church course for my own like my church. They has this thing for leadership Then one of the church course I'm doing is church history, and then they were talking about how in different parts of the Christian world, even back in like the 300s and 400s, there were so many debates about different Christian issues, right? Because like it's not easy to concretize and get all the definitions of every single aspects about the religious faith, right? So they were talking about how people were debating, is Christ fully God, fully man, or only man, not God, that kind of thing, even back in the 400s. And that's why they had to convene a lot of councils, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, Nicaea and Constantinople or something like that, right? Yeah, like they have all these councils so that all of them can like sit down, debate about it, and then finally like agree, okay, this is how we're supposed to interpret certain things lah. But at the end of the day, now there's like what, 2 billion plus Christians? Denomination wise, I think more than 10,000 plus. And there's more popping up every day.
Yeah.
So I don't think there will ever be a time where everyone can like, you know, just totally agree on some things. Of course, there are foundationally things that Christians have to agree upon if they want to call themselves a Christian. Like you can't say, oh, I'm a Christian, but I don't believe in Jesus. And then you're just like, cool, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I can't call myself a Muslim if I don't believe in Allah. You get what I mean? Like, it's a bit of a funny thing lah. So I guess there are foundationally things that all Christians, orthodoxy-wise, will agree upon. But then, like, there are secondary matters that people argue and disagree on, especially like Roman Catholics and other type of Christians.
I think a lot of these arguments are very political as well, because it is. In general, like religion is political, and like I feel like a lot of people they place a lot of importance in it, and to have like leaders and just big ass communities for like political reasons, and also again referencing my class that I took, my professor was like sharing with us about an incident as to why some people started believing in one of the denominations of Christianity. I don't remember which one it was, but it was like in one of the very early days, right, back then, because like, you know, in ancient like Mesopotamian times and also like back then, people generally have a lot of different kinds of gods. Like Christianity is just one of the many religions back then. Like it wasn't like a big religion, because there were other gods also. Because I think like for example, like Greek gods and like Roman gods and all these things, they all like are kind of similar to each other, but eventually a lot of these people like they create their own denominations because of political reasons. But like I remember this one time he was telling us about how like there was this one denomination in Christianity, like I think their temple was like around like other temples of these different religions. There was like a common understanding within that community where it's like polytheistic lah. Like, oh, you believe in your God, like I believe in my God. We all know that we have different gods, but we respect that. But like I think this one temple or shrine, it had water. So it was like the main source of supply of water. So a lot of people tend to gravitate towards that temple, and they wanted like more people. So they're like, you can only believe in like one God. Then more people like gravitated towards that temple. These things happened like long time ago. I feel like people now, we cannot really debate like what is real, what is not, like what is political, what is that. But I do think that generally back then, the only reason why like a lot of people started to like break up in terms of their beliefs, it's also really because of like political reasons.
I think the question is about the separation of church and state, right? For me, I am of the opinion, I might get flack from Christians from this, I feel from the Christians, I feel the state should be completely separate from the church, and the church must run on its own strength, not from political favors and gains and whatsoever. Because as soon as a church is together with the political force that is controlling the country, right, then that's where corruption happens lah. I mean, look at what happened to the Roman Catholic Church. Protestants always point this out lah, but basically there was a point where they were literally selling indulgences, so that it's like a coupon. You buy this and then you get forgiven.
I remember this. Yeah.
It's because they wanted to build all their gigantic cathedrals, which, not gonna lie, is damn beautiful. I just went to Europe. It's amazing. But when you but when you understand how some of these churches were built, then you kind of have to question why lah. And for me, that's why I personally hold the opinion that I feel the state should be completely separate from the church. And so the church must run on its own strength lah.
Actually, I generally, not just like church, but like I think in general, every state should be secular. Like no state, like no matter like if you have a majority religion in there, like every country should have a secular government.
Yeah.
Because like you can't just run your constitution and you can't run your laws based on religion.
Yeah.
Because also, like, let's be real, a lot of the religions, like, their punishments are quite extreme.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to put that shit in the law because, like, a lot of them are violent, and I feel like it's not helping with our humanity to actually like incorporate them in laws.
Yeah.
Because
I feel freedom of religion, lah, right? At the end of the day,
freedom of
everyone
religion,
should have the right to believe whatever they want to believe.
Yeah.
Then again, I also have a, like, how about cultic religions where my sacrifice are babies? Are we going to say that they should have the right to believe what they want to
my
believe
God,
and practice what they want to believe? So
That's true.
for me, there are certain points where it's like,
Okay.
oh, you get what I mean? It's
Yes,
like,
yes.
okay, maybe
Yeah.
not all. maybe not all if you're crossing that line.
Maybe not like
Yeah, but I don't mind getting flack from people that are burning babies lah, because y'all should not do that. I don't care whatever
Yeah,
religion
that's
you're from
true.
lah. Yeah, so that's my opinion lah.
I just feel like the bare minimum is just not to kill people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah,
Kill
yeah.
people. That's it.
Literally.
That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or just have like mutilation or these kind of things. Like, that's the bare minimum. Don't mutilate people, don't kill people. Oh my god. Otherwise, please do not engage in any religion like that.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry. Moving on. I think but those were like good conversations though. Okay, so are there any gay people in your church, or do you know any gay friends from church? Any queer people?
I feel like, yes. I think there's bound to be, but I don't think I can say like how many that I know of. But I think there definitely is. Yeah.
Are they like
closeted,
actively in church?
Yes, they are.
So you're saying like you suspect that they are, or
There are some that, well, not some, but like a handful that I know for a fact that is confirmed. But I think there are others who are like, either they have not come out themselves, or maybe they don't like do it publicly, or maybe like, you know, they only told a few of their friends and then somehow it has spread. But I think there's a handful.
I think
for
I
sure.
know like one of the persons that you're talking about.
Say who?
Wait, blip this out.
What?
Yes.
That's what, okay,
Yes,
continue.
one of them.
Were you from the same?
We studied in the same Christian school.
Oh, but church different lah.
The church.
Oh.
Church different, but the school that we studied in is under the church that I attend.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so
okay,
under
okay.
my church
I
we have a
see.
school, so we used to study in that school.
I
Yeah,
see.
she's one of them. Another one is
Everyone.
This whole thing is what does masc mean?
Masculine women.
Masculine means like
Masculine,
their
like
outlook is more
buff,
like
big.
okay. Then femme is opposite of
Yeah, femme,
feminine.
femme.
I see.
Because you're a femme.
I concur. It's true.
and
Is it this one?
yes, yes, it's her.
It's kind of odd.
You've seen on the.
I cannot. The word is so small, lah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, she looks like a full-on
She
lesbian.
looks like a dyke.
fuck?
Yeah, fucking
Dyke behavior.
slur lah.
I need to educate myself on the terminology.
Okay, dyke is a homophobic slur to lesbians.
Yeah.
Straight people cannot say dyke.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know it was a slur.
Yeah, because actually it's not a very popular slur also, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, not here. I think people here don't know that you cannot say dyke.
Yeah. And people in general, people who aren't queer, they don't know what the word dyke means.
Yeah,
I think it's just like dick. Like,
yeah,
that's what I hear. Is like, oh, dick, but you're just saying it funnily. Right? It's not like.
Normally, the only people who know what dyke means are just lesbians.
Yeah.
So I remember I told you there's once I put Dyke Slayer on my Valorant username, and then all the straight people don't know what it is. They're like, "Hey, Dick Slayer, Dick Slayer." Then right, the people who scold me are all the lesbians. They're like, "Do you know the word dyke is a slur?" I'm like, "Yes, I know. I'm the slur." Yeah, funny lah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Okay, sorry. Okay, do you know any gay people
In
or like
my
queer?
current church, the circle of friends that I know,
Yeah.
but confirm there is. Because my church actually did a sermon on this 3 months ago,
Okay.
where they were basically talking about all these issues: gender identity, sexual orientation, how should the church approach this, what is our definition, do we endorse it, do we accept it, or things like that lah. And basically, my church is quite, I would say, transparent. So normally after every church service, they have this section called Q&A. This is not normal, probably not normally practiced in other churches lah, but they have
Actually,
a Q&A after the sermon every single time. So most of the time lah. So basically that gives opportunity for anybody in the church to basically ask questions lah. And I sometimes help to moderate. Like yesterday, I was helping to moderate. Some questions are like, oh my gosh, please don't ask that. But some questions are like, they really challenge lah. And so I will ask the questions to the pastors. So when they were having that sermon last week, which to be honest, I think it was really good. It was really great in terms of how it represents the typical orthodox stance of Christianity regarding these issues. And then during the Q&A sessions, they asked do you like the pastors on stage whether they had. So the senior pastor of my church said yes, he has. He has journeyed, so to speak, with 6 to 7 people. I don't know whether journey means forced conversion therapy. I don't think so. But I think it's basically about they are professing Christians that admit that they have homosexual tendencies, and they are the one actively seeking him for advice on what to do about it. So he admits that he had 6 or 7. He was even recounting a story about there was one, I think a lesbian couple that came to the church and was like there and like is very happy to be at the church, felt wasn't discriminated there, but then like told the pastor, but I want you to make sure to tell this person that I'm with that's my girlfriend. Like and then he said like, look, your girlfriend, okay, fine. We have our own church position on that. But if you are like trying to forcefully push your agenda and like, this is my girlfriend, like then he said like that's not something that's to be encouraged lah. Like why do you need to force your agenda on it? Like in the same way I respect you, you also should respect the church in its position lah, which I found pretty respectful lor. So but eventually that couple left, not because of like they had problems or what. From what I understand, he said that they left to another church that accepts and endorse homosexuality lah. Because nowadays Christianity, as you know, there are various viewpoints on it, right? Some actually accept, endorse, ordains bishops, pastors, and whatnot who are out there, and others don't. So my church, that's the senior leader. The senior pastor said the campus pastor also mentioned he had like 2 or 3 people that he know. I particularly know one family member that is a Christian, but is also openly, homosexual. And it's a very funny story how he came out to me. Because, okay, I think the reason is I was brought up Christian, but not in that super religious household. So I could really care less. You're homosexual, you're heterosexual. Okay, you do you, man. Don't kacau me lah. Then I didn't have what you call internalized homophobia or whatever, because I really didn't care. I really didn't care. So like when this guy, I guess, kind of this person came out that they were homosexual, they invited me and my sibling to ice cream place, and basically me and my sibling were very close with this person a long time ago, but then as we grew older, sort of drifted away. Then suddenly this person sort of reached out to us and said that they wanted to go and catch up. So okay, I'll catch up. And then catch up, the person just sat us down and was like, so I need to tell you something. He's like, yeah, what? I'm gay. Then I'm like, me and my sibling was like, oh, okay, cool. And we knew 10 years ago already. Oh my God. Yeah, we knew already. We were just like, okay, cool. So then he's like, oh, you guys are fine with it? I'm like, I mean, what do you want me to say? Like, you do you lah, right? So I think that's my, in terms of my circle of people that I know that are professing Christians that are homosexual lah. But I do not want to reveal the identity of this person out of respect.
Well, for me back then during church, I don't think I knew anybody who was gay, even though I sussed a lot of people. Because like a lot of people, like they were just, I don't know, the way they just talk, I'm like, well, it doesn't feel like you're feeling men too much. Or like things like that. But I felt like the people who were out in the church, right, they were often like stigmatized and like isolated, because I know that, okay, they like the cell group leaders and everyone, they're like, oh, love all, but then they're like, hey, but you know,
but don't love the gay people.
You know,
like,
this one, man. They were like, pull you aside, you know, I heard like the person is gay, better be careful and stay away from them, blah blah blah. So it was always that kind of vibe whenever you know about like an open gay person in church. Yeah. What about you?
I was the gay one. That's it. Everyone else was kind of like pretty much straight. I think because the church that I went to last time was also a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like it's not that open. I didn't really see a lot of gay people, and yeah, I never really sussed anyone. It's just me. It's just pretty much me. Yeah, that's all.
Sorry, do you mind sharing like which church was it? Or I mean, you can bleep it out if you're not.
It's fuck. What is it called? I don't even remember already. It's the one on the highway one. Fuck.
The one that I
Highway?
RLC, River of Life Sanctuary or something like that.
Oh, is it?
Is it Renewal Lutheran Church? Sorry, it's Renewal Lutheran Church. Yeah.
Oh wait, you went to a Lutheran church also?
Yeah.
Okay.
You also went to
Yeah,
one, right?
I grew up and I was baptized in a Lutheran church twice, by the way. I don't know why, but like my parents used to church hop a lot and everything, so I always like go to different churches. I don't know why. I feel like every time when there's an out person in church, this person always somehow has something very terrible that they've done. Like the narrative about them, you know, like oh, they're hitting on like one person, they're hitting on like that person, and there's this whole thing where like gay people are very lonely, so they go and hit on people in church. That this whole thing, every time I hear about an out person, this is what I always hear about them. And it was like one of the churches that I was in last time, there was this guy, then he kind of fell in love with his friend, I think. So then like we had a cell group without him just to talk about it.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Oh
a
my
session just to say like,
God.
oh, you know, he did this, he did that. I felt very
Oh my
harassed
God.
and everything. And the thing is, right, I don't know how true these stories are because I'm like, why is it every time I hear about gay people, it's something to do with harassment?
Yeah, it's
You
like very
know?
predatory. Yeah.
It perpetuates this idea that okay, homosexuality is bad. Like every time you hear about these things, it's something predatory, it's something harassment related, and all these things, you know. But whenever it comes to a church leader who's straight harassing on a girl, oh no, it's not grooming, he's just like looking out for her. Like the narrative is always very different.
Yep.
But
That's true.
I feel like there's two possibilities. The possibility is that okay, it is possible that because I don't want to rule out like, you know, people when they say like someone harassed them or someone was like predatory, I don't want to rule that out because there's always a possibility it's true and it's wrong. Like whether it's a gay person or a straight person. So it's always better to always believe the victim first. But how come every time when it's a gay person,
Correct.
you know, it's objectively, this is wrong, you should stay away, blah blah blah. But when it's a straight person, then it's always like, oh, no lah, they were just like, no, they're like that one. Like there's always so much like forgiveness when it comes to those things.
But even in general, when there is no like harassment involved, queer people or gay people are still always seen as predatory, regardless whether there's harassment involved or not. Like the story that I think like I don't know you all also heard lah, like where people will just, you know, say, oh, she's a lesbian, stay away from her, be careful. You know, it's always like that. Yeah.
I think unfortunately that has become that way. Like that thought has become that way is because of the many predatory homosexual priests or pastors that have served in church before lah. There were
That's
many,
true
especially
too.
in the Roman
Yeah.
Catholic context, right? I mean, look, the Roman Catholic is the biggest denomination with more than 1 billion people. You're telling me you're not going to find some idiots in there? Of course, you're going to find lah. So unfortunately, because of that, there were many of these things that happened, and so I think it led to that notion that the way that's how people think straight away about anyone that identifies as homosexual, which
Actually, I
Unfortunately,
understand
like
that
that.
too.
That makes sense.
Because a lot of religious leaders, right, they tend to be pedophilic also.
Yeah.
So I think when people
both homosexual
Yeah.
and pedophilic, so it's a bit like
okay, yeah.
So I think a lot of people they condition themselves to think that these two go hand
Yeah.
in hand.
Yeah.
When actually the wrong thing is the pedophilia and like the harassment and the
Yes,
predatory.
yes.
But like it's so hard to separate it because every time when like these events happen, being gay is also part of it. So it's like a package.
Yeah.
So it's very shitty lah. But like at the end of the day, I think, you know, people always need to remind themselves like when you also put gay people in the picture, you are like actually putting out a harmful narrative.
Yeah.
When the issue is not about being gays, the issue is about being predatory and being pedophilic. Fuck off. So yeah.
But I feel like that's a very hard thing to unlearn lah, because
Yeah.
you know, it's
It
already a
is.
viewpoint that people have towards queer people. So for them to separate it, it's
Yeah, I think from hearing you guys, because you guys grew up in a much more religious household than mine, right? Like, I think that's how you guys were brought up to think. But because I had that, like, one was religious, one wasn't, so I grew up with that sort of like the ability to differentiate between the religion and like just like normal human person thinking lah. You know, because I was able to like just step back and that kind of thing. So I think that helps lah. You know, to like not be so in the bubble lah.
Yeah, I really agree with that because like right now you guys can have like different viewpoints, but to me it's like I've grown up in that safe space, so I'm like, oh, okay, like this is the first time I'm hearing of situations like this happening, and I'm like first time aware of all these kinds of things. So being like, you know, like a Christian since young is like, it's sheltered me, but it's also like, you know, made me not aware of all these situations that are happening. Like, oh, do people actually have that kind of like perspective or perception of, you know, queer people? Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's very true. It actually gives you a different like perspective, you know, when you grow up.
I'll say there's pros and cons though about being brought up like with the parents both being religious and or not. I feel like there's pros and cons. I think the pros definitely is like what we were talking about, like you get that different perspective, but the cons is that you're not like following the faith properly lah. And like now I'm adult, I can sort of reflect and think about it. And recently, like my parent that was the Christian, she basically told me like, there were times I brought you to church, you and your sibling, and I saw other families with their whole family there, and I was alone. You don't know how sad I felt. And imagine if I was a parent, I would 100% feel that same way if I was in that shoes also lah. So I would say there's a pros and cons to it, definitely. And also when we talk about education of your kid, let's say I know that I'm thinking damn far lah, I'm only 25, I don't have a kid yet, but like the question is like, how do you want to educate your children? Also, what sort of values you want to instill? Is it already an organized religious value, or do you want to just based on your own thinking, what do you think is best? How sure are you that you know what you think is best? Would be best for your kid? That kind of thing, right? We have to ask that question. So yeah, I think there's pros and cons about it both.
It's very hard to say because like probably my parents also thought they knew what was best.
Yeah, correct.
And like we church hop a lot, so it was very confusing for me because like different churches have different teachings and different Sunday schools I go to, they say different things. So I feel like it's just very complicated, but I feel like at the end of the day, like no matter what you come to, you should just always remind yourself, like do the very objectively good human things. Like try to follow that, you know. Like whatever you discover along the way, that's your own interpretation.
Right. Yeah, I feel also like really, especially with religion, since it's such a like personal thing that everybody should have their own choice, like whether they want to join this religion or that religion. It shouldn't be like, oh, this religion is good, so you should join it, like forcefully imply your own opinions on other people, which I think is what a lot of Christians out there are trying to do, especially against like people who are gay or lesbian. They are trying to say like, you know, especially people who are like, oh, I've been a Christian before, but now I'm not, you know, and I'm gay or unless, and then they're like, oh, but you already know what it says in the Bible. Like, that's not the point, you know. The point is not to tell people what's going to happen to them based on their religious beliefs. It's the love or the whatever that you're supposed to share, be kind to people and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people out there just kind of miss that point. Right?
Because as Christians, like the whole evangelizing part, I get it, and I think it's true, like we should share the love that we feel that we have received, right? But not convert. You can never convert someone. I can't convert you or force you to believe something that you don't. Right? I can share what I believe, whether you choose to believe that or not. That's your own personal journey with God, right? At the end of the day, and I feel a lot of Christians don't get that, and they think that it's my job to convert. But even biblically, it's not the case, right? Jesus said, like, if you go into this person's house and then the person refuses you, dust your feet, go to the next one. He didn't say go in, take a sword, slash everyone, kill them up, right? Like even Jesus said that, like, you know.
It's kind of like marketing and sales. Like you close sales, but is your customer satisfied? If they're not satisfied, what's the point of the sales?
Correct.
That's an analogy.
Okay, next question.
The next one is interesting.
Wait, what's the next one?
Next one is basically how were your reactions when, like, let's say
okay. How are your reactions to us coming out? I think you both watch. Do you guys know how we came out?
Your coming out stories.
I think I told you, right?
Or I thought it was more on a personal level, like how did you come out to Adam?
Oh, how did I come out? I don't remember also.
I think I just knew you were lesbian. I don't know why.
Huh? You knew?
I kind of like guessed or something. I don't know.
How?
I think when I followed you, then I scrolled all the way down, and then I saw that you had short hair and you were the very like liberal.
Oh, it's your butch era.
Is that what's the term? Butch.
Butch,
What
butch
does
and mask.
Butch is like
when I was masked.
Yeah, it's like you short hair, that kind.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, lesbian.
I kind of guessed it.
You kind of
from
guessed
that,
it.
because I would say Asian context, right? They like Malaysian Chinese don't really
Right,
do
right.
that, and like people that do are generally the more likely to be that kind lah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That kind.
yeah. So
that kind.
you know,
I would that kind.
yeah, so it's like I kind of guessed it lah. Yeah. And also this one definitely bleep this out. but basically got one time I think you tend to not prefer to wear a support structure around your chest. And then,
Okay.
That is very telling.
No, and then what happened was I remember please don't get. I'm not looking there.
Okay, yeah.
Right, but I have peripheral vision. So what happened was. So
I'm
what,
not bleeping this.
no, please leave this out.
Okay,
I'm gonna
okay.
say someone's name.
Yes.
I remember. I think we met you one of these days, and is the one that came to me. Bro, do you see what she's like wearing there? I'm like, yeah, I did. I'm like, oh, this is like, yeah, is she like maybe lesbian or something like that?
Wait, when was this?
This is very early on.
No, but I thought I was quite like covered because okay, if you notice at work I tend to wear 2 layers, so that I don't have to wear a bra. So I thought I tend to dress like that.
Oh yeah.
So you guys saw my nipples and then you were like, is she a lesbian?
I mean, to sum it up, maybe that.
Wait, but how? Like, what do you remember? What clothing I was wearing?
No, I can't remember. Yeah, I mean,
For context, I just don't believe in wearing a bra. I stopped wearing one since 2019.
Which is good. Sometimes I try to do that, but like sometimes you just can't lah.
You know, okay. You know what was my turning point? It was when I was interning. I interned, right? I always see all these guys with nipples sticking out of their shirt. And then some more,
that's me, wait. I got some movies now.
yeah, and then they had like moves. You know, like they had moves. So I would like look at these men and they have moves, and I'm like, nobody's saying shit about them. What's wrong with mine? Like for me, I'm always like, if you see my nips and you feel bothered or inappropriate, do you want to suck my tits? Or do you know somebody who wants to suck my tits? Like, why is it a problem?
Yeah.
Like these guys with moves, I don't want to suck their tits, and I don't think it's because I'm a lesbian. I think even straight girls don't want to suck their tits too. So I'm just like, if they can walk around like that, why can't I walk around like with me? So
True.
that's why I stopped wearing a bra.
That is true. That is true.
Oh my god! So it was the fact that she wouldn't wear a bra, and because she had like short hair last time.
Yeah.
That you guessed.
I'm sorry for stereotyping,
It's okay.
right? But I got it right.
Okay, it's to be really honest, like lesbians kind of have very like typical behaviors.
Yeah.
So there are some things we can't really run away from.
Yeah. Honestly, some stereotypes are legit.
Yeah.
So you just never told him. I
I think we probably talked about like our relationship status, all that, and then she probably said like, "I have a girlfriend."
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, okay
I
lah.
don't remember also already how.
Yeah.
Oh, so you all were just like, okay lah, like that lah.
Yeah. It's been like that since.
Wow.
That was funny, man.
Okay, what about Anjuli?
Oh my god.
I think Zoe shared this on her coming out episode.
Oh.
I was the friend who she said she made up a story like, hey, my friend is
Oh, I watched the video. That's why. Oh, it's you. Wow.
I made up a story to tell Anjuli that one. I was like, oh, my friend is a lesbian and da. What do you think I should tell her? So I was testing the waters with her. Yeah.
So
Oh my
what was the
gosh.
story? Like what?
I can't remember. Basically she just said like, I have this friend who's like this, and then as a
okay,
Christian,
okay.
I just want to know like what your viewpoint.
She was using like a third person.
Yeah,
as
like
a,
I want to help my friend, so what should I tell her and stuff. So so I just say like whatever. Honestly, right, that was the point where I was like, oh, actually, I don't know much about all these kind of stuff. Like I don't have my own like viewpoint on like homosexuality and all this kind of stuff. So to me, it's like as if she's asking me for help with her homework like that, So I'm like, let's go. I'm like researching. Because I didn't know, I didn't want to like give her the wrong advice or whatever. So I'm like, because I don't even know much about this. So I'm like, okay, let's just like, Google some stuff like how to talk to your homosexual.
How to talk to your homosexual friend?
No lah. So anyways, yeah. So then I like read up a bit about it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I told her like whatever I thought. Then after a while, she's like, oh, actually the friend is me lah. I'm like,
did you guess?
no, I didn't know.
You had
Honestly,
no
I was
guess.
just like, wow, my friend asked me to help her. Okay, I'll help her. like talk to her friend or whatever. So then after that, honestly, that was the point where I was like, wow, I didn't know like I had a friend like this close, you know, to me who was going through something like this. And I was like, wow, you know, because all my life, all my friends are Christians. Either they are Christians or they are not Christians. If they're not Christians, then whatever lah, I mean, they're from school or whatever. So because I was in this bubble, I also don't know what to say to her, you know, honestly. But then it really hit me because I felt like, you know, for someone to come to you and be like, essentially be like, will you still be my friend if I'm like this? It was like, wow. I wouldn't even think of like, what if I were in this position, you know, would I have something wrong with me, or like me thinking I have something wrong with myself to be like, hey, will you still be friends with me if I was like this? Which really struck me like, the world is not just all as it seems, like, you know, there's more deeper stuff to it. So I think the first thing I told her was like, you know what, you are my friend first and foremost. Obviously, I won't be like, oh, just because you're bi or you're lesbian. I think that time you said
still
bi. So I'm like, just because, you know, you've come out doesn't mean that I'm going to stop being your friends. But I did say, you do know my viewpoint on this. I'm still a Christian. We can have different opinions, but I'll still be your friend, you know, no matter what. Because I don't think it should change that. And now that I'm older, thinking back about it, I feel like that's what other Christians should do, instead of being like, yeah, I mean, who doesn't know in the Bible it says that, you know, if you're homosexual, you go to hell. Everybody knows that by now, you know, but that's not the kind of message that you want to share with other people. You're not trying to go out there and be like, oh, the Bible says if you do all this sin, this is what kind of punishment you're going to get. No, you're supposed to share the opposite. You know, you're supposed to share how, you know, the good things, or like the love and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was the point where it really like woke me up, like, wow, you know, there's so much more lah than what I know lah, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like watching both of your videos, it was very like emotionally for me very sad lah. Like, because I could tell both of you guys really did everything and anything in your power to remain faithful lah, in that sense, right? You did everything that you could. You prayed, you cried, you asked God, why me? Why did I do? Why do you make me like this? Right? I'm sure you all prayed, read the Bible front to back, everything to try to
the whole thing.
Yeah, everything, even a self-customized conversion.
Oh my God.
Right? Like watching that, I can never ever put myself in that situation. I don't know what would I feel and also because you guys grew up in that religious community, another aspect was like, if I did finally accept myself to have these tendencies, then would my friends love me, accept me? Will I lose everyone? How about my family? Like hearing you guys actually come out and like crying to your parents about it, right? It was, personally, it was just very, very painful for me to see that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is lah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what else to say, because I think it was like painful in the beginning, because like I think part of it was because I put so much thought into how it affects me being a Christian person. And I think for a while, like because I actually, like, when I was away, like studying away, because I was in a church that was very proudly, like, they're very proud of having queer people. They always have like queer pastors. They always have like queer leaders. Yeah, in the US, it was the Lutheran church.
Oh, okay.
The Evangelical Lutheran Church. That's where I got my scholarship from. So they were a lot of leaders and everyone who were very like openly queer. So I think that gave me an impression like, oh, okay, I can be queer and I can be Christian as well. But I think like for me later on, it was more of like, okay, I think these people, they also went through a lot to be able to be in the position that they are, to be leaders of the church. I'm sure they went through shit as well, you know. So for me, it was also more of like my own opinions about the community and how it sees women, and also how it's not just how it sees queer people, just how it sees women also. And like, I think a lot of it also had to do with like the community here. Like, do I still want to be part of it and everything? Yeah, it's like all nice over there and everything, and people can be more accepting, more liberal and all that, but I'm just like, I know there's not like a lot of churches also. And for me also, I feel like, obviously I feel very like disincentivized to have a relationship with people like that. And also part of having a religion is also to have like community and everything, because I'm also the kind of person like at the time when I was like very close to denouncing religion, I was like, what's the point of me having religion if like I hate everyone who believes in what I believe too, you know? It just felt so fake to me to like want to still be friends with these people, want to still like hang out with all these people if like our views are just so you know. Obviously now that I'm older, I know that you can have your own views irrespective of that, but when I was younger, all I knew was that you need to have community with the religion too. So I'm like, I don't like this community, I'm going to yeet myself out. So I yeeted myself out, and this is how it is lah. I feel like if I was like still believing, I'd probably be okay with like isolation now, like just my own personal views on it, not needing to go to church, not needing to like, I think if I still believe, I probably would be this kind of Christian, but because I don't believe anymore, so that's not even like
I think like I think there's importance of the community as well, but you shouldn't it to the point where it's like group think lah, like to the point where you have to believe everything.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, we're all individuals. Everyone's gonna die. Your pastor's gonna die. You're gonna die. Your kid's gonna die. Everyone's gonna die.
Yeah.
So you want to find out whether you're right or wrong, you die lah, then you see what happens. But
Real.
let's not do that yet lah,
Yes.
right? But I'm just saying that at the end of the day, we will find out when we die. But we still can have reasons and have rational grounds for believing what we believe lah. And for me as a Christian, I feel I've come to that understanding that I have rational grounds for believing what I believe. I might be wrong, but if I'm wrong, I would like to understand why and where is it that I'm wrong lah, you know? So yeah.
It looks so ratchet.
It looks fucking ratchet.
Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone.
Hi everyone. We just got back from dinner and then we are gonna record this. Why are we recording this here and now?
No, because okay, so we recorded the Conversations with Christians episode and it was like 2.5 to 3 hours long. So we're splitting it. My hand is so fucking tight. We're splitting it into two.
Support.
Look at this. We're splitting it into 2 episodes. One is released now, which is the one that you just watched.
Yes.
And then the other half is releasing tomorrow. So you have 2 episodes this week.
Yars.
Okay, that's all. Thank you for watching. See y'all
Slay.
tomorrow. Bye bye. Fuck. Damn tiring.